to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast, the longest-running Miami Dolphins podcast on the internet.
We're always in control, and when you say Miami, you're talking to my ball. Cause we're the Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins #1.
Hello, Miami Dolphins fans. How are you today? And thank you for listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast on this Wednesday, December the 31st, the final day of the year. I am your host, Mike Oliva, flying solo today as we got a bunch of stuff to talk about here in the world of the Miami Dolphins. We got some new reporting on Mike McDaniel's job status that we're going to talk about and discuss. I'll share my thoughts on what some of the national pundits are saying and what this might mean here if we can read the tea leaves. Also going to talk a little bit about some of the news that Mike McDaniel spoke about today at his press conference about Tua Tagovailoa, which I find very, very interesting. And I know it's New Year's Eve. Most of you got plans tonight. This will not be a long show, so it'll be a pretty short show. So let's get through it. But before I begin, as always, shout out to the sponsor of today's show, Caneswear. Miami Hurricanes got a big game tonight. If you're listening to this on Wednesday against Ohio State, I'm wearing, if you're watching on YouTube, my little Miami Hurricanes. Show support for the sponsor of today's show and the home team, the Miami Hurricanes. Everyone go to Caneswear.com for the best and most affordable Miami Dolphins apparel on the internet. Go there before you check out any other of the bigger websites. Caneswear.com has much better prices, and it's locally owned. So you want to check out Caneswear.com if you need something for the Miami Dolphins, the Miami Hurricanes, your Florida Panthers, your Miami Heat, your Miami Marlins. Caneswear.com. If you're in South Florida, stop by their shop at 2655 South University Drive in Davie. Caneswear.com has it all. Also, want to give a shout out to everyone watching us live at the I Am a Miami Dolphins fan Facebook page, run by the great and talented Carlos Hernandez. If you're on Facebook, please be sure you are a part of the I Am a Miami Dolphins fan Facebook page. Also, we have a couple more days left. Dolphins Talk Extra, patreon.com/Dolphins Talk. Use the promo code DTXmas. That's right. Use the promo code DTXmas. First month is $1. You get bonus podcasts, some about the Dolphins, some not about the Dolphins. You get a private message board, which is way less toxic than social media. We give away autographed helmets, autographed jerseys of former Miami Dolphins players, and sometimes current Miami Dolphins players. Patreon.com/Dolphins Talk. Use the promo code DTXmas. If you're watching me right now on YouTube, Super Chats are open. I will answer all Super Chats that are sent my way on this show. All right, let's get to some of the news. Mike McDaniel had a press conference today, and he was asked a lot about, as the season's winding down, this is the final regular season game. He was asked a lot about Tua and how the season went for him and with him, and just some general questions about Tua. He answered some, he didn't answer others. He was asked why he thinks Tua first he said he was asked if he gave any thought to putting Tua on the bench earlier this season prior to when he did after the Pittsburgh game, and he said no. He thought that Tua gave Miami the best chance to win, and he was a starting quarterback until he felt that was no longer the case. So there was no thought back in October or even in November of putting Tua to the bench. He's flat out said no. He was asked why he thinks that Tua struggled this year, why he regressed, and he did not have an answer to that. He goes, I don't know. He said, I don't know. And he said part of the reason that he did put him on the bench was there came a point where it became clear there was another player on the roster who gave Miami the best chance to win, which was Quinn Ewers. When he was asked why Tua's arm strength this year got so much worse, Mike McDaniel refused to answer that question. So, and look, Tua's never had the strongest arm in the world. It was never as bad as some people made it out to be. Let's be clear. It was never as bad as some people made it out to be, but it also has never been great. And it has regressed this year. Look, if you just watch the games, I always say, kind of say it tongue in cheek. You don't need to be, locked in the NFL Films studio watching film 24 hours a day. Some of the stuff is just watch with your eyes. It's just common sense. His arm got much worse this year. A lot of his passes fluttered. They were floating. They were easily intercepted because they had no zip on it and they couldn't get to where they needed to be. And when he was asked about this, Mike McDaniel did not want to answer. So who knows? I'm sure at some point someone will say something down the road. It'll leak out and we'll have a full story. It might be in a few weeks, might be in a few months, might be in a year. I don't know. But this stuff always finds a way to get out to the general public. Mike McDaniel did praise Tua for how he's handled the benching. Mike McDaniel, so he did have that comment, or he gave him a lot of praise for how he's handled this like a professional and such. And there was another question here, which, look, we're going to talk about Mike McDaniel's future here in Miami. Will he stay? Will he go? And there's a lot of reporting on. There's a lot of new reporting on this, which I'm going to talk about today. And look, man, Mike McDaniel's a little bit of an oddball. He really is just he's a quirky guy. We've come to get used to it, but it's not normal some of the way he answers these questions. And this was further proof today. When he was asked, this is a simple question that he made weird. When he was asked if it makes him sad or sad for Tua that things that it wasn't working out for Tua in Miami, that this altogether it just wasn't going to work out. If it made him sad or if it made him sad for Tua. Mike McDaniel said, and I quote, "I turn into a robot that has no emotions when making these types of calls." And he went on to say at some point when he's really reflecting, he might feel those emotions. So it's not an exact quote here. He goes, "I turn to a robot that has no emotions when needing to make these types of calls." And he went on to say he might feel some emotions at some point when he's really reflecting. Dude, this is a yes or no question. Just answer the question, yes or no. Yes or no. It's very simple. The failure to just give a yes or no answer to a yes or no question is why this guy's weird. And then he turns into, I turn into a robot. He just makes stuff weird for no reasons. In Miami, you can get away with that. If this guy was ever a head coach in like Philly or New York or Cleveland, hold on to that, or with like a tougher, I don't want to say tougher media, that's not fair, with more media, let's just say more, they would roast him for this stuff. It's like, just say yes or no. Are you sad? Are you sad for Tua? Yes or no? He just can't give it. I turn into a robot. He has weird analogies. I don't know what this guy, I mean, he is one strange bird. Then when he was asked any questions about 2026, Mike McDaniel refused to answer any questions about 2026. And he said he will be in a better position to answer those big picture questions on Tuesday. Meaning, if I'm here on Tuesday, I'll meet with you guys and we can talk about next year. If they fire me, then why would I say something now if I'm not going to be here? So I give Mike credit for how he handled that one. I'm not going to answer any questions about next season because he don't even know if he's going to be here. He had no idea. So I give him credit for that. It was just, some of the answers he gave on Tua by what he said or what he wouldn't answer tells you all you need to know. But just the oddball, I turn into a robot stuff. It's really weird. And it becomes exhausting at some point. I know it's not a huge deal. And I know some people probably think, oh, you're making a mountain out of a molehill. I get it. But it's like, it's what just becomes exhausting. Just give an answer. It's week 18. Just everyone wants to go on their lives. Answer or don't, but don't give us like I'm going into a robot stuff. It's just, it's a bit much. In other news, Bradley Chubb was named AFC Defensive Player of the Week. And congratulations for him. Again, someone who probably won't be back in Miami next year because of the contract situation. But congrats to Chubb. I know he most likely made himself some money last week with his performance. He got a couple sacks. They didn't give up a ton of points. So all depending how this week goes, if Miami finishes in the top 20 in points allowed and this, that, and the other, he could have made himself a lot of extra money in incentives. Okay, so, and I see, Rudy, I'm not going to put you on blast, but your comment here in our chat on YouTube, Ross loves McDaniel, not going anywhere as much as we'd like that. To quote the great Lee Corso, not so fast, my friend. If you are a longtime listener of this podcast, I've been telling people for weeks, do not believe all the reporting that's out there that Ross loves McDaniel, because when every reporter, whether it's Rossini and Schefter and Rappaport and, all of them, all report the same exact thing, it means they all got the same exact source. And that same exact source would be Mike McDaniel's agent or his camp or his manager, people who are close to him, his little inner circle. And now that we are just a few days away from finding out if he will stay on as the head coach, which he might, or be fired, we got new reporting out. We have a lot of new reporting out. Most of it from ESPN, but we got some other reports as well. And we're going to go over that report. We're going to try to read between the lines here, try to read the tea leaves as well. And let's just get into it. So ESPN each week, and folks, if you don't read this each week at ESPN on their website, Jeremy Fowler and Graziano each put out this article / report where they each they'll toss out like a topic and they'll each share what they know on the topic, and it's great insight all around the league. Great insight. They do great work. Dan Graziano, he is reporting this morning on December 31st. I am hearing conflicting things on Miami. For a while, it sounded as if Mike McDaniel was a good bet to stay. But lately, the winds seem to have shifted a bit on that. So we'll see where that lands. Jeremy Fowler then followed up. My sense is McDaniel would be a candidate in Cleveland should the Miami Dolphins move on and Cleveland's job is open. Now this is the key part here from Fowler. He still has some support in Miami. We will see if that's enough. He has made a case to stay. From what I've gathered, the Miami Dolphins general manager search won't necessarily be centered around fitting with McDaniel. It's more about finding the best team fit in general. Then you got Albert Breer from Sports Illustrated, longtime NFL insider. He was on the Rich Eisen show. Asked about what he knows about Mike McDaniel and his job status. He said 50-50. Again, Breer, though, was someone who in the previous weeks and months had been like, oh, he's probably done enough to stay. Now he's getting closer. He's like, that's not what I'm hearing anymore. Like with these other two guys, the winds have seemed to shifted. From what there's been changes here, and he says it's 50-50. And to me, this is the most telling one. Because, first off, all these guys are great at their job. They really are. They don't just – I know there's a segment of fans who think these guys just make stuff up, throw it out there. They don't. First off, when it comes to Miami, that's not like a sexy team in the NFL. There's no reason to make anything up. It's not like that's going to get clicks, as they say. If you want to make something about the Cowboys, you want to make something about San Francisco, you want to make something up about the Chiefs, that might get clicks. Making stuff up about Miami doesn't get clicks. So nobody's doing that. So they're all reporting this. This morning on ESPN First Take, Peter Schrager, who I have a ton of respect for, I think he's one of the best in the business and doesn't get enough credit for it. When it comes to his mock draft every year, he gets that information not 100% right. Nobody does that, but so close to accurate. It's crazy what he does when it comes to this. He is so tied in to so many teams when it comes to coaching. He's got the scoop. And today on ESPN First Take, he was on the panel with Christopher Mad Dog Russo, and they're talking about, head coach possible openings that are out there this offseason. And Peter Schrager said, maybe Miami. Then Mad Dog pushed back and goes, I think Mike McDaniel's safe. He's not going to fire him, Ross. And Peter Schrager, in a calm, small little whisper, said, maybe Miami. And he said it in a way that made it seem like he knows something that nobody else does. And with Peter Schrager, that's often the case. So when I hear Peter Schrager just calmly and quietly go, maybe Miami's going to be open. I don't know. Maybe Miami. It's like dropping a subtle hint. I'm just leaving a little breadcrumb here. I'm not going to flat out say he's going to get fired, but it's like that job, he might not be safe. And then you factor that in what Jeremy Fowler's saying, what Graziano's saying, what Albert Breer's saying, and all these reports from the last month that Ross likes McDaniel. He really doesn't want to fire him. Well, we're 3 or 4 days away from when they're going to have to make a call on this, and all the reporting is shifted. As Dan Graziano said, the winds seem to have shifted a bit. And that's kind of where we are now. So I think, and here's the other deal too. Before I address the whole Cleveland aspect of this, which I find totally hilarious, because it's so transparent what's happening here. I think the one thing that's perfectly clear is that the powers that be in Miami, Ross, whether his family, the son-in-law, the stepson, the 2 daughters, Tom Garfinkel, there's clearly a division amongst those people who are going to make here a call on this. Because if they're all on the same page, we'd probably have more clear-cut reporting. When we got one guy saying 50-50, you got one guy saying, well, the winds are shifting. You got one guy saying, well, he still has some support in Miami. It means they're split. And it comes down to which side is going to be able to convince the other side, this is what we need to do. Here's why we need to keep him. Here's why we need to fire him. And that's why those reports that have been out there for weeks and months, I've warned you, if you listen to this show, I've warned you, don't take them as gospel. That is Mike McDaniel's camp feeding the reporters this nonsense. Just like his camp is feeding the whole Cleveland wants him nonsense, which I'm going to talk about here in a second. Here's what I'll say. Mike McDaniel might stay as head coach of the Dolphins. The side that wants him in Miami, it sounds like there's a few voices that want to keep him. They might win out here, but this is hardly a slam dunk, and this is hardly an endorsement of Mike McDaniel, Miami. If he even survives this, if he even holds on to this job, he will enter 2026 on the hottest of hot seats I have ever seen a head coach enter the year on. If this guy starts off 0-4, he's done. Like, he's entering the year. So even if he survives this, don't pop the champagne here if you're his wife, if you're his family, because this might be short-lived. Because it sounds like there's a side in that Miami front office, the powers that be, that don't want him to stay. That's one thing that's perfectly clear here from all this. They have not made a clear call on this, and there's probably a side that's like, what are we doing? Why are we bringing him back? And let's be honest, that side is probably right. Why bring him back, hire a new GM, and let the GM hire his guy? Let the GM start fresh. Let the GM hire his head coach. This notion that, they're going to keep McDaniel, force him on a new general manager, and then they got 5 picks in the top 100, and they're going to take guys that fit Mike McDaniel's system and scheme, only to then fire him, which we know we will next year when they get off to a rough start, and maybe by October or something, or maybe he survives the year, but they only win 5 games and then they fire him. Like, we know what's coming. Why waste those 5 top 100 picks? Why force this new general manager to work with him for a year? And why even hinder your general manager search, which, by the way, seems important according to what Jeremy Fowler said, saying that from what I've gathered, the Miami Dolphins GM search won't necessarily be centered around fitting with McDaniel. It's more about finding the best fit in general. If you're going to do that, if you're looking for the best GM in general, let him get you a new head coach. Because any GM that comes here and goes, I want Mike McDaniel, you hire the wrong guy because he don't know football. Mike McDaniel's been atrocious as a head coach. Just rip the Band-Aid off, let Mike go now, and then you do a full general manager search, get the best candidates, all the best candidates. Because if you keep Mike, some of the top candidates, I ain't going to go down there. Why would I want to work with Mike? I don't want to work with Mike. You're going to force me to work with Mike? Bye-bye. I'm not even going to meet with you for an interview. You're not even going to get interviews with those candidates. So just fire him now, rip the Band-Aid off, and let's move on. As I've said on this podcast in recent weeks, and I've laid it out with facts and stats, Mike McDaniel is the worst head coach in the NFL today. I think he's one of the worst head coaches of all time, up there with Richie Kotite, Ray Hanley, Cam Cameron, and there's been a lot of head coaches in this league. You don't have to agree with that. You might think that's a little bit over the top. That's fine. But he's the worst head coach in the NFL right now. Okay? And if Miami brings him back, yeah, we'll hope for the best and all that stuff, but it's in the team's best interest to move on from him. I mean, he is not a good coach. And hopefully, for those of you who are in the side like me that want him gone, hopefully this is it gives us a little bit of hope, because I really thought he was going to stay. When he started to get to 6 wins and 7 wins, I thought he was going to stay. But looks like there might be a slim chance here that Mike McDaniel might be let go here on Monday morning, or maybe it doesn't even happen so quickly. Maybe they will do a general manager search, and maybe they hold on to Mike for a week or so, and then they fire him. I don't think you can hold on to him too long, though, because that's just not, one, it's not fair to Mike, and two, it's going to hinder how you operate as an organization. So there's that. Now, this whole part about Cleveland, the Cleveland Browns, who interviewed Chris Greer last week for a senior consultant role. Now, that Cleveland would be interested in Mike McDaniel if Cleveland fires their coach, and if Miami fires McDaniel, is 100% grade A bullshit. If you don't, this is Mike McDaniel's agent and the people around him working overtime here through the holidays as they were feeding this other stuff, like I was telling you, to all the media. Oh, Mr. Ross loves Mike. Mr. Ross wants to give Mike the best chance. That was all bullshit. As we're hearing now, it's like there's no decisions, and might not be looking good. Now Cleveland, who hasn't even fired their coach yet, okay, and don't know if we're going to fire ours. There's people leaking. We're interested possibly in Mike McDaniel. Folks, you got to be a moron to believe any of this stuff. Cleveland hasn't announced anything with Stefanski. Why would they leak? Why would anyone there leak a list of a name to someone who also hasn't been fired yet? This is comical. So, look, Mike McDaniel probably will get a second chance to be a head coach in the NFL. Probably. If Miami fires him in a week or so, I don't know if he'll get that chance right away like Adam Gase did. We fired Adam Gase, and then the Jets hired him like less than a month later. I don't know if that's going to happen to Mike. Mike might have to go be an offensive coordinator for a year, and then maybe next year this time he'll be in the mix for a head coaching job. But again, Mike's got a personality that a lot of owners probably would like, and that he's going to be media friendly. He's someone you can take around, shake hands, and kiss the babies to, sell, advertising in the, we got this $1 billion venue. We need to sell some advertising in the stadium. Hey, let's have a meal with our head coach, Mike McDaniel. And he'll tell some oddball jokes. He'll make you laugh. You know what? Here's a few $100,000. I'll buy a sign in the left end zone or the east end zone, whatever. It's like, so Mike is very likable, and I'm sure he will get a job again as a head coach in this league. I don't know if he'll get it. If he's let go, I don't know if he'll get one right away. That's yet to be seen. But this whole thing with Cleveland is just Mike McDaniel's people continuing to leak nonsense to these national reporters. It's nonsense. So we'll see. We will see about that. I don't know if that's possible. But again, this all coming out today, sort of on the wind seems to have shifted. From what I gather, he still got some support. That's not saying he's got a lot of support. It's saying he has some support in Miami. And then it's a 50-50 chance. And then that nugget, that little breadcrumb, Peter Schrager dropped when, on First Take saying, oh, maybe Miami's going to be open. And then, oh, no, it's not going to be open. Oh, keep an eye on Miami. That's a Peter Schrager special right there. Just leaving a little, just floating it out there. I think that job might be open. And again, where the Dolphins go, if this job opens, who knows? We can talk about that in the coming weeks. I know the big two names are Tomlin and John Harbaugh. I'm not a big Tomlin guy. Let me put it this way. I'm not a big Mike Tomlin guy for Miami. If I'm the Giants, go all in, get Mike Tomlin. If I'm the Jets, they should be all in, get Mike Tomlin. Miami, I don't know if that's a fit. I just don't think, because he's going to want to come here and want power. And I don't know if Miami should hand Mike Tomlin all the power. If you're the Jets and you've been a laughingstock for 100 years, give Mike Tomlin all the power he wants. He'll get you to be respectable. If you're the Giants, who already has a quarterback in place, give Mike Tomlin all the power he wants. He'll put together an A+ staff, and he'll win you games probably with Jackson Dart in Miami, they need a true football guy at GM, something they haven't had it in a whole lot of years. And I don't want to give Mike Tomlin that type of power where he's going to be running the draft and all that stuff. I think it's a bad fit in Miami for football reasons. And I think if he goes to Giants or Jets, even the Tennessee Titans, that's more of a fit for him. Now, John Harbaugh is a little different because I don't know if he's going to want that power because he's coming from the Ravens. And him coming from the Ravens, here's the deal. If John Harbaugh somehow is let go or you got to part with, a pick to land him, if Weaver does not get a head coaching job, he might keep half the staff in place and keep Weaver, which if you're Miami, that's not the worst thing in the world. So you got John Harbaugh, head coach. He'll bring in a new offensive staff, obviously, but you might be able to keep Weaver if Weaver does not land a head coaching job somewhere else because Weaver coached under Harbaugh with the Ravens. So there's that aspect. So that's why I'd be much more inclined to go after someone like Harbaugh. I don't think the Ravens are getting rid of him, though. I know there's a lot of talk and all that stuff. I don't think it's going to happen. I think that the Ravens are more inclined to keep Harbaugh and move on from Lamar Jackson. And there's a report already out this morning. I forget who it was. It was someone credible, though, that watch out for the Minnesota Vikings to be in on Lamar Jackson. That might be a landing spot for him. I think the Ravens will probably keep Harbaugh and just look to rebuild at quarterback. I think Tomlin, if they don't make the playoffs, if they are out of the playoffs after this week, I think there's a chance. I could see him with the Giants very easily. I think that's almost a perfect fit, honestly, is Mike Tomlin with the Giants. I think that's kind of a home run fit for him. But we'll see. We'll see what happens there. But, yeah, just want to pop on here, New Year's Eve, do a quick little show. I'm not going to do the preview for the Patriots game today because I want to do a show on Friday in case any more news drops from any more of these reporters, kind of see where we're at with things. So I'll do probably a quick show Friday where we talk about the Patriots game. I'll give my prediction, give some weekend picks. Yeah, so I'm trying to see real quick here. Who had that Lamar Jackson report? I don't know if I have it or not. I don't right now. Yeah, so I can't find it right now. But yeah, so that's all I think for today's show. We'll keep this one short. Everyone, it's been a great year here in 2025 here at our website, here with this podcast. We do thank you for all the support you give us. I know it hasn't been the most fun year when it comes to the team and the winning, but we do see the support. We see the numbers. We do appreciate you guys tuning in each and every day, each and every week to all the shows, whether it's Josh, Aaron, Tom, myself, Ian, Allie, Dolph Freaky, Eric, and Robert Burns, and all the podcasters, and of course, all of the writers as well. We do appreciate everything, all the support you guys do give us. It's not a notice. Without you, there would be no us. Hopefully 2026, I got big plans in 2026 for our website and our podcast. Not going to share them all now because some of them are still a work in progress, but I got big plans in 2026. If you've enjoyed this podcast so far, sit tight. We got some big things coming. If you've enjoyed our website so far, sit tight. We got some big things coming, and it's gonna be another year of growth, another year of hopefully fun times. And again, if you haven't signed up for Dolphins Talk Extra, look, I ain't looking for all your money here. It's $1 if you use the promo code DTXmas. But go to patreon.com/Dolphins Talk and sign up. It's only $3 a month. But the first month can be $1 if you use the promo code DTXmas. We have a lot of fun. We do extra shows over there. Again, some about the Dolphins where we can be a little bit more, let's say, loose with the conversation. And we do a lot of shows not about Dolphins. We talk about food or television or movies and other sports, hockey and the NBA and Major League Baseball and college football and all that stuff. We have a lot of shows about that over there. And also we have a private message board where you can get more one-on-one FaceTime with myself, Josh, and Aaron, and some of the hosts here. And it's also a great community over there we built there. So if sometimes you just get tired of social media and people screaming at you, go to our little world we built, sort of segmented off from everyone. Check that out. And we give away tons of prizes and stuff as well. So patreon.com/DolphinsTalk. Check that out there. And again, everyone have a safe New Year's. If you're hearing this on Wednesday and if you're going out tonight, be safe. We want you for 2026. We need you to be a good Miami Dolphins fan in 2026. So be safe, have fun, but just be safe. And yeah, that's it. So everyone have a great evening. Have a great Happy New Year's. I'll probably talk to you again on Friday. So everyone take care. And as always, remember, we must put an end to highway profanity.